Catawba College is a North Carolinian private college established in 1851 in the county of the same name. It moved to Salisbury, North Carolina in 1925. Like many other colleges, it gave focus to athletics, but in more recent years, it has expanded its horizons to an esports program.
I think it is a very integral part of my life.
I could be enjoying playing video games, which is something I've always enjoyed, right? But also get to compete, which is another thing that, I have like a hardcore love for. I just love competing. I love winning, hate losing. Like, it was perfect.
It's very important to me in so many ways that I can't even sit here and list off.
The games that would be played in Catawba College's first semester would be some popular titles such as League of Legends, Rocket League, and Fortnite. However, the game Valorant would mark the beginning of a new era in esports, with players from various games coming into one. But to get anywhere in the competition this game has to offer, many players need to put in effort to achieve their collective goal and show everyone.
Hi, my name is Ryan, otherwise known as Shadow, and I'm a Valorant player for Catawba Esports.
My name's Clay Brown, also known as Vibes. I'm from Lansing, Kansas. If you guys don't know where Lansing, Kansas is, it's Leavenworth, Kansas.
I'm Tristan Van Weringen. My gamer tag is Twistan, and I'm a senior at Catawba College. I was brought here as a player, but also as a coach. And my biggest goal with the team is to develop the talent that is here and work with Gabe in the same way that we did in the past.
Hello, my name is Gabe Sasser. I'm the director of esports at Catawba College. I also go by, my name Gabe in the esports world.
How did you find and become a part of the world of esports? What led you here?
Yeah, so if we go way back, I originally went to school for game design. So I did development, 3D, animation, all that stuff. Did that for a while and kind of got burnt out, so I left that. And when I went back to school, I went to UNC Charlotte. So the cool thing there is I had a buddy of mine who at the time was being asked to kind of work with one of the gaming and esport clubs, and they needed a lot of help. And he finally convinced me after a while of trying to give him a hand, and so that was, I don't know, 8 years ago or so.
Eventually I moved to UNC Charlotte for going to my degree, which at the time was electrical engineering, but moved to computer science. In the move to computer science, I met the esports people at Charlotte, which is where I met Gabe Sasser, and I was able to transition from more of a stock car and traditional sports aspect to doing esports.
It's one of those things where it feels like your paths are always going to cross with certain people, and that's what it felt like with him.
Gabe had the macro and micro analysis of the game, and I would really give Gabe the numbers to help solidify his understanding of where he thinks we should move.
Other than just like poking at each other a little bit, when it comes to game time, it's business. If what they think sounds right or is going to work, then let's do it. If what they think sounds wrong, it might not work, it doesn't matter, because you're both bouncing ideas off, and you can take what may not work or what even might work and find a better way to do it, right? So that's kind of how Tristan and I usually approach it.
None of our friendships were heavily impacted upon just how we talk to each other in game. There was definitely a very distinct, clear separation between those environments. I had my best friend Clay, who he's a grad student now in the program, but he was a freshman out here at the time, and it was like, hey man, come on a visit, see how you like it. And I did, and it led me to where I am now. I don't regret it for a second. I definitely think if I didn't come here to Catawba, I'd still be in state in Illinois.
Me and him met playing Minecraft, and then kind of found our start playing CSGO together. And ended up dragging him out here too. So that's always a neat little neat little friend story, I guess.
All we did was play Minecraft. All we did was play Counter-Strike. You know, like that's just kind of what we did growing up. And Clay's he's from Kansas, so we had that online friendship going for a bit until one year he flew up to Chicago and we went to an IEM CSGO event together. And that was the first time I met him in person, and it was one of my first like big events that I attended like in person.
It was cool to kind of see the growth of both of us and like the paths we took, and then how they, you know, they were like side by side, and then, you know, we came to college and they kind of merged, and they've kind of been on a very similar path, and, you know, they kind of waver a little bit here and there.
If I go pro in the future, or if he goes pro in the future and does something, takes a different path, and we're not on the same team, oh well, truthfully. But hey, I know we'll both be there to support one another.
We were able to transition our playstyles to what worked best for us. Rhyne had the most experience moving from Counter-Strike into Valorant, where Logan and Clay came from the Overwatch background, which is a vastly different game. It's got respawn. There's many different ways to approach Overwatch. So I'd say it was more of a struggle for them.
So we had our Overwatch team, and then Valorant started to come out. Some of those players transitioned to Valorant. So obviously, you know, that when you go from one game to the other, it's in many situations it'd be like switching from football to baseball. The fundamentals for the most part are transferable, but you do have a learning curve.
We definitely probably could have fielded an Overwatch team that year, but me and Logan, two of the better players on the team, we were full committing to Valorant. Like, we were having a blast playing it.
I want to have something more to cement my legacy in the esports program here. I was asked prior coming in that summer, I was like, hey, we're going to be fielding a Valorant team for this next year. Do you have interest? So I picked up the game, you know what I mean? And Clay was honestly a huge part to that, because he was like, you have to try this. Try to get a beta code. Like, see where things go.
And we did a couple tournaments over the summer and stuff. Carson kind of was included in there. He played a couple. And Colton kind of got into it a little bit later than everyone. He was playing it with us, like, coming up, but like it wasn't until like the semester started that I felt like he really took hold of Valorant.
I was jumping straight into a very mature competing environment, and I mean, mature is one way to put it, but I wasn't going in with a bunch of kids. You know, I was the kid going into that environment, and I had to learn. I had to pick up things. I had to learn when was my time to speak in certain situations, and when I could give my input, and it was valuable. And I don't know, there was a huge learning curve for that.
How does Tristan play? How does Colton play? How did Clay?
How did they all play it?
Like in those technical terms, all the jargon you want.
Okay.
You know, we took the momentum we had, and we were quite a momentum-based team. When we were up, we were really up, and we could play with that momentum.
But I mean, looking at everybody, obviously Tristan and Colton were the more experienced ones on the team. They were the vets. They came in. I mean, I knew Colton didn't really play much or compete much before Valorant and like League, but they were the more experienced. They were the older guys. That's how we call them. And obviously with Tristan's experience coming in, I at least looked up to him. I still do. But then we had like Clay and Logan. Clay went through a lot that year personally, and that's definitely not my place to talk on, but I know he went through a lot, and it was a very big year of change for him in his own life, and that's why I know he struggled with like, putting in play time. Like he needs to perform well here or else we're probably gonna drop out of playoffs, you know. And I'm at the end of the day, all I care about is the fact that he showed up, he did what he needed to, and I mean, I obviously have no hard feelings against him for that. There's no reason to.
I ran into a lot of mental health issues that I'm still dealing with. I feel like that's the semester that I started becoming very mentally aware, and so like I really kind of went into a shell, kind of cut off from everyone, trying to figure myself out, which I'm still trying to break out of that shell to this day. Which I'm starting to realize I can't do that on my own, but there's a certain person that I met that semester, who I'm now engaged to. And so she played a huge part in me being able to not necessarily break out of that shell, but be able to exist both in the shell and exist out of the shell, and get what I needed to get done.
The final game was it against Sac?
Sac State,
Sac State.
freshman year. I just remember getting into the last series against Sac State.
It was a tough year. We definitely had some learning experiences.
It was a lot of work for me. It like both school, mentally, and esport wise, I had to overcome a lot of things. And though in no way was I a perfect teammate, no way was I a perfect player, I think the best word of advice I got from Tristan and Gid, I think it might have been Gid specifically, who told me this, was at the end of the day, I just need to play my role. Even if I'm not top fragging, even if I'm not popping off, I don't need to.
We didn't have a perfect season in the regular season. We did lose to Sacramento State. Close game, but a loss is a loss, and it was tough on us.
All right, these are the guys to beat. This is the only team that won against us all semester. We got into that final series, and there was just so many delays. It was just due to server issues and like agreements on what server to play on. I mean, Gid ended up changing the entire ECAC rulebook and was a huge part of changing our conference's rulebook because of what happened in our series.
With Valorant, it was a best of 3 series, and we had been playing playoffs for a long time. With Valorant, for people who don't understand the game, it's first to 13 round wins, okay? Well, if you tie it up 13-13, then you go until it's first to have the go-ahead 2 matches, so you can go forever. Once you're there for a couple hours, if they're not used to it, you start to get pretty tired. Unfortunately, we had, with esports, some difficulties with networking and whatnot, not because of the school, just how the game works, and that became an issue that the conference had to kind of figure out in the middle of a championship match. And that ultimately paused our championship match for about an hour and a half while everybody was figuring it out. So, you come in, you win game 1. It's very close game 1, we win it.
And then we were going to our comfort on Vine in map 2, and we just knew it was over. Like, we had barely dropped any maps, none at all, throughout that entire semester on Vine.
And we won. We won in a very, very quick fashion, which was surprising considering how long we had to wait. And that's what led us to the championship, which is awesome. We played Sacramento State, so this was, a national championship.
And so we 13-5 stomped them, and it was just done. And it was such a great feeling.
It was a great feeling, great moment. It was our first, that makes everything more special. But I was very happy to go to bed that night.
Without the 5 players we had, we never would have won.
The Valorant one, I think, is what really proved that we were doing it right. Everybody knows, especially in athletics, that you're on a clock. It doesn't matter if you're the best in the world, you're always on the clock, right? You're always trying to reach some kind of milestone within some amount of time. And so that was kind of, for me, the moment where, what the time I'm putting in, the effort I'm putting in is for something that the parents can see, that the grandparents, the friends. That first one meant a lot. That was a big springboard. It set the standard because we knew we could do it. We just hadn't gotten there yet. And then after that, we rattled off quite a few with League of Legends, Overwatch, a couple of League of Legends, actually.
For me, esports almost is another means to compete. Because of my injury I had in 2005, it made it very difficult to compete in traditional sports. I was able to compete in hockey as a goalie because it's not as much of an endurance sport. Because in my accident it collapsed my throat and it made my airway narrow, which made it hard to do anything endurance based. But all my life I've always, raced or competed in sports, and kind of the way I've grown up and lived my life is it's always been I've wanted to compete and win in sports. So esports for me has been just another means to compete, but also switching to a coaching aspect, I've also been able to help develop people and all that are competitive like me to get to kind of where they want to be, whether that be a player, a coach. There's many roles within teams, as you see now, as things have gone to franchise leagues. You know, there's roles from player all the way down to accountant to manager, even HR. There's many different roles in esports that people can be in, and a lot of what I want to do here is help develop people to where they can get into those teams.
That's all I really want to do with my life. It means a lot. I mean, the friends I've made, the things I've learned, the things I've done. You know, esports is like uber important to me. I love sports. Yeah, I love competing and stuff, but at the end of the day, there's nothing quite like esports as a community, as a whole. I'm not quite sure what my life would be without it.
I think it is a very integral part of my life, and it's very important to me in so many ways that I can't even sit here and list off. I mean, it's helped me not only form different relationships with family and friends and meet so many new people, but it allows me to do what I love. You know, I'm here competing in college, getting a scholarship to play video games, and I crossed half the country to do that from where I grew up. I don't regret anything for a second, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
It's kind of cliche, but it means everything to me, right? I wake up, I go to work. It's esports. It's esports at Catawba College, right? I try to relax. I play video games. Those games are esports, you know. I read, research. Yeah, I teach classes on this, right? So I teach classes for a communications department at Rhyne University, and I teach introduction to esports, which is the history and, you know, the what is it really is where we dive into that. I also teach the social media side of it. So what are all the platforms? How do you use them? How do you use it for esports? Let's build a brand. Let's get your portfolio started. So, you know, it's like I said, for me, it's everything. No, I'm very grateful to wake up and do what I do. It's one of those things where every day, even when I get upset sometimes, or, you know, you just have a bad day, it's one of those things where I'm still like, well, today might suck, but at least it sucks while I'm doing what I want to do and enjoy doing, right? Like, you know, so it's something I try not to take for granted.